So hey everyone, today we have Shriraghav alongside us for the Masterclass, and the topic for today's session is understanding the perfect application strategies to break into the top business schools like LBS and ISB. So I hope you're doing well today, Shriraghav. Thank you so much for removing the time and connecting with us. So why don't we start with a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over. So I'd like to start by giving a brief background about myself. So I studied accounting and finance back in India at St. Xavier's College, Calcutta before joining LBS. I also worked at my family-owned business part-time with college. And what motivated me to do a master's course was primarily the difference in educational experience that I would gain here in London, and at the same time the brand name of the school that I'm coming to, which is LBS. And I personally feel both of them are very important and would act as a stepping stone for my endeavors in the future.
So you mentioned that you basically had past experiences of working at your family business. So can you elaborate a bit on that? Because I'm sure that would have played a pretty strong role in helping you receive these admits.
Yeah, I personally feel that any form of work experience is very welcome and really helps during the application process, and especially if you show some form of leadership skills in the same. So personally, as I was privileged to come from a family-owned business, I got opportunities to lead small teams at multiple occasions, and that really helped my application, as I personally feel that LBS or any top school, even ISB, really looks for people who have led teams in any situation. So I think if you've worked and led teams in some form or the other, it'll be a really good boost for your application.
Definitely, that is definitely one of the most important elements. Leadership is one of the most important elements that these business schools look for. So you mentioned that you worked in teams. So can you elaborate a bit more on what kind of projects you led in your family business?
So my family business did not really have a treasury management team. That was one of the teams that I personally set up and look after. Because I studied finance, it was very much related to what I was studying. I formed a small team of 6 people, and we started investing idle cash that we had at the family business into various short-term debt instruments, such as either liquid funds or arbitrage funds or very short-term bonds, and that really effectively helped us earn about 6 to 7% return over in comparison to 0% what we were currently earning. So that's one of the teams that I led at my family business.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. And mainly, let's try and understand, when did you decide, after working at a family business for more than 2 to 3 years, so when did you decide that you want to basically move into a master's degree, and why did you choose MIM specifically?
So I always thought that education cannot stop after just having an undergraduate degree today, because it's very competitive. I always had planned to do a master's either at India or abroad. I finally decided to apply to LBS, I think around at the end of my first year or the beginning of the second year of college, because I went through the program and I was pretty clear about going to London and going to LBS, as it is one of the best schools in the world. And so I decided then, and so as you mentioned, I worked 2 to 3 years in the family business, but they were all part-time alongside my undergraduate studies, because my undergraduate studies were in the morning from 6 to 10. So I did not really have full-time work experience, which is usually considered after graduation. So MIM was possibly one of the only courses, like early career courses, that I was eligible for, and not an MBA. So I decided to apply for the MIM because it really fast tracks your career, and working for 5 years and going to do an MBA was not really an option for me. So hence that's exactly why I chose to apply for the MIM.
Yep, that makes total sense. Coming to the application itself, so LBS is known to have quite a few essay questions, because they are the process is usually pretty rigorous. So how did you build the perfect story with the kind of experiences that you had? So this would also help mentees to understand, whoever is coming from a family-owned background. I think it will help them form that strong pitch that can be sent to the AdCom.
Yeah. So personally, I think you should obviously mention about your family business. They would somehow ask you indirectly or very directly, in my case, to quantify your family business as to either how many people you employ, as to that's the most subtle way of asking this question. So you might want to quantify your business in some form or the other. Secondly, I would say more than family business, you should just be very honest about your essay, because sugarcoating is very common, but frankly, I'm not sure if it works. Uh, Everyone has some of the other experiences. Everyone is unique. You might feel that your experiences are not good enough, but I would frankly advise you to leave this judgment to the AdCom team and not to yourself. So just be honest as to what you've done, even if you think it's very small. Speak about it. Even if you think it's not worth of a mention, at least talk to some other people who you would want to talk to, and then try to mention it in your essay. Be very honest. The questions are very, very specific as to what they want. They would very honestly ask you about your short-term goals, your long-term goals, as to how you could contribute to the LBS community, and they essentially look for people who LBS would benefit from. So it's a two-way street. They give you an education. In return, they seek a good relationship from you after you leave the school and when you're at the school. So you would want to mention about the clubs that you're interested in, how you would want to contribute to the clubs, how you would be active as an alum, and all of these parts essentially.
I think that makes sense. And one very important thing that you mentioned out there was, the mentees assuming themselves as to which experiences would hold what kind of weightage. So obviously the AdCom's perspective is very holistic. It's very different. So mentees should definitely connect with seniors, alums, and really understand if a particular experience is worth to be pitched or not. So I think that is a very good heads up that they can definitely keep in mind. Perfect, makes sense. Just to consolidate this discussion that we've been having about preparing the perfect application, right? So any comments on what kind of timelines the mentee should follow when it comes to the entire application cycle? Because there's obviously a difference between applying in round one, then subsequently in round two. So any comments there as to how they can plan out this entire process?
Yeah. So ideally, the earlier you start, the better, especially with your GMAT. One, if your GMAT score is on the lower side, the earlier you apply, the better chance you have. Secondly, if you're looking for scholarships, most scholarships go out in round one, leftovers got in round two, so nothing beyond that. In general, they have, if like LBS has about 270 to 300 seats to fill, so they start filling up seats from round one. So essentially, if they've taken 100 applications, applicants already, you just have 200 other seats left in round two, and subsequently lesser in the future rounds. It doesn't mean that people don't get through round three, round four, or even very late applications. People do. I have a lot of friends who came very late. But the best bet and the safest bet would be applying really early. Also, unrelated to this question, but a personal suggestion. So if whichever school you're looking to apply for, try to connect with the AdCom's team. I'm pretty sure at least for ISB and LBS, they had coffee chats, or when it was possible, physical meet and greet sessions. So if you go and connect to them, they sort of remember your name when you drop them an email later, and then they know that you're interested in the school. That I personally feel really helps with the application process.
I think the last thing that you mentioned towards the end was extremely important. I think so people sort of underestimate the power of really reaching out to these, AdCom members, or for that matter, alums as well. So that is one really good advice, that, you should start early and basically get in touch with the AdCom members so that they are basically, acquainted with you. And that would definitely play a big plus when you actually apply. So I think that is a pretty good advice. Cool, perfect, sounds great. What kind of professional opportunities are you looking at once you graduate from LBS? What kind of doors do you think the college has opened up for you?
Personally, I think a very big key takeaway is the network that you meet here, even in India and abroad. I was never recruiting, so I did not recruit for jobs, but most of my friends who were looking for jobs have jobs in London, have a job offer by now. It's usually quite rigorous. You have to apply to quite a few places before you get a job offer, but that's a part The key takeaway from me from LBS was one, the brand, because then now even at the family-owned business, I'm not just a privileged child. At least people would accept me more because I'm educated. Secondly, the network that I take from here would eventually down the line help. Even if you're not from the same cohort, people are usually very friendly. If you just drop them a message saying that hi, I was at LBS as well, they usually reply, even on LinkedIn. But if you really coldly reach out someone else, they wouldn't probably reply. So the network is a key takeaway. Secondly, thirdly, the soft skills that the school teaches you as to living alone, living in London, meeting people from different communities, it boosts your confidence as a whole. It makes you way more of an extrovert than you usually were. So that's also a very good key, like a very good reason why you would probably want to do an MBA or a master in the first place.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those experiences. I think that definitely makes sense. And perfect. I think Shriraghav, that was a great session. So thank you again for your time. So guys, Shriraghav is listed as a mentor on MentR-Me with us. So if you have any doubts in terms of how do you break it into top institutes like LBS, ISB, he would be able to help you out with each and every part of the application process. And any final comments for your mentees out there, Shriraghav, in terms of how you'll be able to help them out?
So I think to be very honest, I would not be sugarcoating a lot of things. I'm usually very blunt with what I feel about your application or what I feel about the school that you're applying to, and especially with essays, I think I have a fair idea as to what they would look for in your profile and with your essays. It would always be helpful if you could have a talk with me. I think it should help your application, and especially with writing essays. If you want someone to proofread your essay as to or to get ideas as to what you could include in your essays, I think I'd be someone who could help with the same.
Perfect. I think that is a great approach. Again, thank you so much. That was a great session.
Yeah. No worries.
To watch the full masterclass and get access to such insightful content, visit our website and sign up for free. Link is in the description box below. Also, if you have any questions related to your career or higher education decision, visit our Q&A forum on the website and get them answered directly by industry experts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an update about our exclusive content.